I think the Honorable Minister of Interior, the young lawyer there wants to know what you are doing about police reform. Another gentleman asked, why can't we solve the unemployment issue by employing more people into the police force?
Thank you very much. There's absolutely no doubt that reforms in the police are necessary. And I mentioned it earlier on during the introduction that part of what we're doing now is to look at the possibility of these reforms. These reforms This reform certainly both structural and administrative. Thank you. These reforms certainly are both structural and administrative. What are we aiming at? We are aiming at the police that is effective and efficient, and the police that will operate within the rule of law. There have been several attempts in the past on police reforms. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to capitalize on those attempts, look at what have been done in the past. And this is why I mentioned that as at now, we have a committee that is looking into that. And the issues are, the argument are based on what kind of policing style do we want, or structure. Some have argued leaving a highly centralized police as it is today. Others have argued on state policing. We are also issue of community policing, which the current IG is pursuing. So these are issues, that has to do with the reforms itself. So, but certainly that at the end of the day, we want to have a police that we can all be proud of. Today, there is a huge gap between the police and the public. There's this perception that the police is corrupt, the police is brutal, and so on and so forth. So we are making all efforts to close those gaps. Secondly, whatever reforms we want to carry out must be reforms that will look at the capacity building of the police itself. Because it doesn't make any sense if you have about 400,000 strong police personnel but cannot, maintain law and order because of lack of capacity. Secondly, we need to look at equipping. What kind of equipment are they using? Looking at the current challenges and even future challenges. But also important is we must look at the general welfare of the police. And this is part of a major problem in efficiency and effectiveness of the police. We look at the issues of discipline, attitudinal change, to borrow from my senior colleague who pioneered this issue during Army Transformation Project. So I'm also using that within the police. We have to change our attitude towards the people we serve. Because if the people don't have the confidence and trust, you can never have efficient policing system. So that attitude we want to change. So for now, you have to exercise patience. We have a committee that is looking at that. And very soon they will come up with their report. But like I said, they are not doing it, outside what has been done before. We are taking advantage of those reforms like the MD Yusuf Reforms Committee. The second issue has to do with recruitment. My friend, if we have to go by 1-to-1 ratio, we're likely to have about 180 million policemen. The universal standard is 1 police to 400 citizens. And now you know that not long ago, the president gave a directive that 10,000 new recruits should be, new personnel should be recruited into the police. And that project is ongoing. But it is not enough, in terms of just recruitment. Like I said, the resources must be available to train those recruits to, a standard that they can perform very well. And this is why it has to be gradual. And fortunately too, aside the police, we have the civil defense, which is performing complementary role to the police in terms of law enforcement. So all those, but the essence is not to make these agencies as avenues for employment only. No, we need to ensure that anybody who we employ or recruit into these agencies are in a position to carry out the task, because security is very important, like I mentioned earlier, in the country, in any society, because without security there will be no development. So it's not something we take for granted. Thank you very much.
I think the other question has to do with what is the government doing with the looted funds. Well, I want to assure everybody here that under this administration, nobody will be able to re-loot any returned looted funds. Thank you very much. We are now going to take more questions. There are some people who have expressed their desire to ask questions in the languages they understand. We'll take them, and then it will be interpreted, and then the answers will also be interpreted in the language in which is asked. So please, our priority now is those who want to ask questions in either Hausa or any other indigenous language. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Information and Communications. Honorable Minister of Information and Culture. I beg your pardon, sir. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we told you that we are live and we are streaming live. We've just received a few questions and comments from the social media, which I will quickly rush over before we go in to the vernacular question and answers. This one is coming from one Chukwumobi Chuks Godwin. He said he's watching NTA right now and heard Ibe Kachuku, Minister of Petroleum, Oil and Gas, gave his lecture and marveled at his confession of progress holding hands. First time I see a Nigerian speak with sincerity and belief. Hoping it doesn't end in giving great lectures and pep confessions, but implementing these policies. Anyanwu Emmanuel says he wants to know what will be done about the implementation of the National Conference decisions. The Niger Delta Minister is not here, so that question, I think I will skip it. Then Isaac Adebayo King is asking a question for the Honorable Minister of Solid Minerals. He said, he has said a good speech and stated good plans, formalizing the activities of artisans and illegal miners. But I hope this will be kept. And then from the Twitter handle, Adebayo Aziz B at ZA_icon. And this is for the Minister of Interior. He said, why can't the police use phones to track kidnappers demanding for ransom? So we will now go into the vernacular questions, and Mohammed Aruna would handle that.
The gentleman who wants to ask the question in vernacular, can you come over here?
Assalamu alaikum. Suwana Muhammad Garba, APC Secretary Soba Local Government. Ni shawaran da zan bada da gwamnatin Najeriya shine, na farko muna bada shawara da gwamnatin Najeriya da ta sanya waɗannan yaruka guda uku su zama su ne harshe wanda za a dinga amfani da su a gwamnati, wato Hausa, Yoruba da Igbo. Domin idan muka duba sauran ƙasashe waɗanda suka ci gaba suna amfani da yarukansu ne, kaman India, Pakistan, Germany, Iran, dukkan suna amfani da yarukansu ne suke samun ci gaba a hanyar technology nasu. To don haka muna roƙon gwamnatin Najeriya ta sanya waɗannan yaruka guda uku su zama su ne harshen da za a yi amfani da su a gwamnati da hudda a cikin ƙasa. Da fata Allah ya taimake mu, Allah ya ba mu nasara.
Thank you very much. I think the summary of what he said is that we should introduce at least the 3 major Nigerian languages as official languages. I thought that's the policy right now, but then that's his comment. I'm sure the Minister of Information and Culture, especially in respect of culture, will address that. We will take, because we haven't taken questions from this side, we will take 3 more questions and then we'll go back to the panel.